A Zoom call bleeds through the thin wall behind you. You sit down to write exactly one sentence, and you can hear every click of the keyboard opposite yours. A tap on your shoulder, a Slack ping. Every few minutes, something pulls your focus back to zero. Eventually, you retreat. You book a conference room designed for 6 people, and you use it for 1. You do this because it is the only place in the entire building with a physical door. Look at how this workflow maps out on a decision tree we'll call the modern worker's dilemma. You sit down to write that sentence, hit the immediate noise and distraction of your desk, seek privacy, and end up booking that massive room for a single person. Systemic bottlenecks render individual time management irrelevant. The layout of the building is actively working against the work you are trying to do. Modern offices have created a structural deficit. When finding basic privacy requires this much daily maneuvering, the space itself is broken. To understand why the space is broken, you have to look at how these spaces started. By 1960, a third of American workers had moved into the massive steel skyscrapers reshaping downtowns across the country. But the inside of these gleaming towers looked remarkably like the factory floors those white-collar jobs were supposed to be an escape from. Identical desks were packed tightly into the middle of the floor, with typewriters hammering in mechanical unison. It ran like a factory because it was built on the theories of Frederick Winslow Taylor. He had spent years timing men with shovels to find the single fastest physical way to move dirt. Corporate managers took that exact logic and applied it to accountants and clerks. They prioritized raw spatial efficiency, packing the maximum number of human bodies into the minimum square footage. By treating human workers like mechanical components, early office design cemented a foundational trade-off, prioritizing real estate efficiency over actual human output. In the 1960s, a designer named Robert Probst tried to fix this. He built a flexible system of lightweight, angled panels designed to give workers both privacy and the ability to move freely between tasks. We can evaluate how this design performed using a matrix mapping the original promise against the actual implementation. Probst's intended promise was privacy and dynamic flow. He explicitly warned against boxing people in. But corporate management took flexible panels and shoved them into rigid right angles. This produced maximum headcount on the floor plan at the expense of employee autonomy. The trade-off was intense isolation and making employees feel highly disposable. This is what that looked like by the 1990s. The spaces shrank. Everything you owned at work fit into a single banker's box that could be cleared out in 10 minutes. The cubicle failed because management co-opted a tool designed for human privacy and weaponized it to serve the real estate budget. Then the 2000s arrived, and Silicon Valley presented an alternative. They stripped away all the walls to create bright, shared tables. The pitch was spontaneous interaction and a culture of constant creative collision. Let's run this era through that same evaluation matrix. The promise was collision culture, but the actual input was removing the walls while drastically shrinking the average space per worker, down to just 151 square feet. The outcome backfired. Harvard Business School found that actual face-to-face interaction dropped 70%. Workers were forced to buy $300 headphones to do the exact job a fabric panel used to do. The open plan functioned as a real estate cost-cutting measure, wearing a progressive philosophy as a disguise. True productivity environments, like libraries and cafes, do not force every type of human behavior into a single uniform layout. Evaluating this alternative model shows a very different set of priorities. This model promises to match the physical environment to the task. The required input from management is building distinctly zoned spaces and trusting employees to move between them. The outcome is a workforce that migrates based on their immediate needs, balancing quiet focus and teamwork. The trade-off is real. It requires a larger physical footprint and a higher upfront design effort. Achieving high output requires abandoning the one-size-fits-all fantasy and investing in spaces as diverse as the work taking place inside them. Here is a blueprint mapping an office to human behavior. We plot focus against collaboration on the x-axis and silence against high noise on the y. The right side accommodates active teamwork in open lounges. The left provides heavily protected zones built specifically for silence. These zones only function if you enforce strict behavioral rules for each quadrant. You cannot allow a loud Zoom call in the library area. A functional office must be planned and managed like a city, with distinct zoning laws, rather than being treated as a single massive warehouse. For decision makers, optimizing solely for real estate density is a false economy. It sabotages the exact output you are paying your workforce to generate. Investing the upfront capital into diverse architectural zones yields a dramatically higher return on employee output and retention. For employees, trying to hack an open floor plan with expensive headphones is a losing battle. The daily friction will wear you down. You need to advocate clearly for established library rules in designated quadrants, or push for hybrid flexibility to protect your deep focus hours. Office design has successfully met real estate budgets for decades. To survive, the next era must finally optimize for the human mind.